Hi, Maria. How are you?
Hi,
Fine, thank you.
Maria.
Hi, Juliana.
How are
Um,
you?
I'm great. Thanks for inviting me.
where are you at right now? Are you in Mexico City or Oaxaca or where?
Mexico City.
Okay, you're based there, right? And
Yes.
okay, all right, just making sure. Um, all right, so you founded Novo, the first Mexican publishing house focused on gastronomy. So maybe just to start, you can tell us a little bit about what Novo is.
Well, I know it's a big statement saying like it's the first, but it's not the first effort, but it's truly the first publishing house dedicated solely to gastronomy, cookbooks, and everything about Mexican food or food based in Mexico. So Isaac Martinez and I founded last year because we just thought we needed some books we weren't seeing out there, and all the efforts were made by either foreign publishing houses working with chefs and cooks and contents here in Mexico, but not by Mexicans. So we decided to start this adventure last year, and we've published 3 books so far, and working on a lot of projects.
Cool. So, what do you feel was lacking in the books about Mexican food that were kind of already out? I guess there have always been books about food published in Mexico, but what were they? More just kind of like general cooking things, more pretty woman with an apron, like that kind of thing, home cooking books targeted
Yes,
at a certain audience.
yes, definitely. We had a lot of cookbooks, like the grandmother's
Yeah.
cookbooks. We have a massive tradition of this type of books, and they're an amazing heritage. But it's not like the contemporary cookbook we wanted to see, and I think we were lacking a vision, like a design, photography, perspective. I don't know. I think we had an amazing tradition of we have an amazing tradition of cooking, and we have amazing chefs, amazing cooks, amazing ingredients, amazing like the whole culture surrounding Mexican cooking, and also we have the hype. Like we've been like this city, Mexico City, Oaxaca, uh, Baja California. I don't know. It's like there's so many places people come to eat and to discover ingredients and places and people. So we thought we needed to like a more cultural approach, if you can say so.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I definitely think there's a lack of these sorts of books, not just in Mexico but throughout Latin
Hmm.
America. I mean, there's not this like, and it's very hard to do what you're doing because there's not like this Latin America wide distribution model. Like
No.
it's not like the U.S. where the books go all over North America or whatever, and there's agreements. There's not like issues with sending things state to state. It's like every country has its own legal issues, and there needs to be distribution agreements in every country. So markets are quite small, I would assume, and for a book to be
Yeah.
successful, it is very dependent on the platform of the author and also the publisher's platform and kind of the community that the publisher can create. And like creating those communities, it isn't just like the general food community or a restaurant community, or it's very specific about people that read culinary books. I think it's a very specific audience in some ways, and then like what
Yes.
you're doing and what publishers like Hombre de Cultura in Colombia are doing, I think it's extremely important, and it allows different types of books to be written that that aren't just the grandmother or the tattooed chef on the cover or something like that.
Yes, yes. It's a. I mean, we face massive challenges with the market and distribution. But it's also, we thought we need to form those publics. We need to like create this market, because there's like, yeah, it's the numbers of the runs are totally different in
Hmm.
Mexico than in the US. But we needed to kind of start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, uh, if you don't do this, it's also, um, we need to widen these audiences and the public for these types of books. And I think that there's a hunger for them. So in that sense, I think we I mean, it's still a challenge. The distribution is, it's complicated because it needs to be done like every step of the
Hmm.
process. So it can kind of distract you from your editing process for the publishing itself. But it needs to be done in order to get to all these people out there that wants this type of books.
Yeah, Maria, I was thinking when looking at the covers and the line, the conceptual line you have for Novo, there is something about this niche because they're still niche projects,
Mhm.
right? And they have an
Yes.
aesthetics, as you say, they have a more cultural approach to these contents, to gastronomy. They entail this beautiful harmony between photography, concepts, art, different, like almost like the 7 or 8 art in a
Mm.
book, right? On the other hand, you say there is a need for these books, there is an audience wanting them, craving them, but they are very niche. So you say we had the other books, and same is all around South America, Latin America. Who is accessing all those other books, and who is able to access these ones? Because it's always this paradox or challenge of getting to a broader audience, and yet the language is more specialized. And that makes sense in the I mean, in terms of making a lot of information more appealing to certain people, but is not going to maybe be appealing for some other groups. So, this is just a question that I have in general about these amazing publishing houses that are so well curated and beautiful and just great, right? But I don't know. I don't have the answer for that, and I'm just like posing the question here for everyone because it seems to me that yeah, it's a hard one.
It's a hard one. Yeah, I don't have the answer either, but I think we try to tap into this. I don't know. Maybe aesthetics are for, you can learn some of the public with design and with
Yeah.
photography, and while the themes are going to be super obvious for some of the people. So like the foodies and the even the industry people. But I guess we're trying to make this congruency between the subject and the design and the pictures, and try to make it work for wider audiences than just like foodies and
Hmm.
restaurant
Yeah.
industries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we I think we kind of have grabbed some attention with yeah, photographers and designers and architects and other more maybe art consumers, if you could say
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
and but at the same time we try very hard to make the recipe parts of our books. It's not the main thing, but it's part of it, and we try to make the recipes as doable in a home kitchen as possible. So we really translate for the general audience, so you can feel, you can cook whatever is in the books without like being a special
Mm.
equipment or having a special kitchen or a restaurant kitchen or anything else like that.
Mhm.
Um, in your on the website, you have like a manifesto, and you say "Sembremos una milpa." Let's plant a milpa. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that it's very important for us the milpa as a metaphor. The for whoever doesn't know what a milpa is, it's a corn plantation, but it's the like the ancient version of that implies that it's not only corn but other plants like beans
Mhm.
and how do you say calabazas?
The squash, yeah. So it's like
Pumpkins.
an intercropped plot of
Crops,
a garden.
exactly. And what it means for us, the milpa, it's just as the corn and the squash and the beans and the other like herbs and like they can grow, and maybe green tomatillos and whatever can grow in with the corn. It's benefiting from this type of growing, and that we have that as a metaphor for making a book, like the type of of books we are publishing, and the content we are creating can't be done by a single author
Hmm.
or by a, I mean that they're authors, but they're photographers and designers and chefs and cooks, and there's a lot of people implied in the creation of a book of this sort now, like anthropologists. And so we say sembremos una milpa in the sense that we want to collaborate. It's and also quite literally we are losing the milpa um, system in Mexico,
Hmm.
and we're launching a campaign to like a percentage of our sales will go to milpa farmers, like
Okay.
literally.
Okay.
We
Cool.
are super worried about the loss of the ancestral crops, and also because the process itself, it's really like a communal process in many villages in Mexico, and even in Mexico City we have a still like a resistance movement to preserve the milpa. So that's why.
Okay. Beautiful. Um, you also talk a lot about how emotion is in cooking is necessary for art.
Yes, we were very inspired. Like Novo, even the name, it's a last name of a man called Salvador Novo that was like an artist, a writer, a poet, and he wrote the first culinary history of Mexico City. He
Okay.
decided to like, and being this guy that was like in politics, in art, in theater, like we thought it was like a statement as well to his name was like the label, because that's why we want to. It's like we don't want to be isolated. Like food and cuisine doesn't need to be like separated from the rest of the culture and the rest of the arts and the rest of the expressions of a city or of a country or a place. So that's, and also that's also what it's implied with the emotional side of it.
Mm.
Like we want to recover. Like that's why we like food, don't we? Like because it entices all these emotions and community and being together and sharing, and it's just
Connection. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So that's why.
Yeah, that kind of emotional connection to food is important, and I think it does get lost a lot of the time in traditional publishing when it seems very transactional sometimes. Like the cookbooks that they're so the original vision of the author or the cook or the designer, whatever. Sometimes it gets so manipulated into just this box that they all kind of end up seeming the same, and
Hmm.
in but food is very different, like it's such a like wondrous thing that's always changing and never the same, and every ingredient you get is always different. It comes from different air and soil and all of that. So publishing, I think, should reflect that in whatever way that it can. It shouldn't all just be what you can buy at a supermarket and everything tastes exactly the same and the same packaging, but yeah, always different and changing and evolving. Um,
Yeah.
out of curiosity, what was your experience in publishing prior to Novo?
It was basically in art books.
Okay.
So I kind of transitioned from like I I'm trying to put my vision on art books in the cookbooks in novel books, because I think it's basically very similar. Like and also in my practice as a art publishing um, and as an editor before, I just realized like also it's not about the artist alone or the practice alone. It's just about how the book needs to be the connection between these people that are interested in the same subjects, and that are in search of emotions and in search of also it's I think the book format is it's a way of put more value in these processes and in these people, but it's not fixed, as you say. It's not fixed. Like
Mhm.
you will never have the same bite, like
Yeah.
the same recipe or the same. I mean, we just published a book on mushrooms, and it's like we are not going to have mushrooms in 2 months time.
Hmm.
It's going to be like the season is short, and it's never the same. So I think we want to capture this, but not to fix it in a like in a box.
Yeah.
It's just like an inspiration and a valuation of these people that are dedicated to farming, to harvesting, to cooking, and also to reading, basically.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about a publishing house in that way, as Nick just said, and I think it's great. It's like a mirror of something that it's alive, which is society, and like life outside, and the publishing house should reflect that, right? Instead of being so rigid and in a
Yeah.
way structured, just
Sorry
like
to jump in here.
passive.
Like it should be like a milpa. Like it should be all these things that,
Yeah,
like the corn at a milpa. It's not like these perfect rows of corn and all these
yeah,
other groups. Sometimes they're misshapen and they look different from one another from stock to stock. It's not this like factory of everything the same. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Julie.
Exactly. And
yeah.
it
No, and it made me think because I was wondering how. So, how have you decided so far about the books or the projects you have prioritized? And I think it has to do with that, right? Like, in a way, it should be not random, but not like as a collection that now, So, I was curious about that, and also what has been the most challenging thing so far in publishing those.
yes, yeah, it has a certain randomness, but not. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
certain point you need to like
Right. It's still a
but it's
business, yeah. Like,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is still.
and it's still, yeah, and also we want to be, I mean, we want to create like a legacy and like
Yeah,
a reference,
it's a
and
message. Yeah, there is a message.
yes, there is a message, definitely. And the thing is, yeah, it's but it's also like with crops, and like if the rain is too much, or it's too little, or like the sun, like, yeah, you have to take like the context creates maybe more than half of it, like, but yes, we still have some parameters, and we still have some things we decide on, and we always want to reflect the territory, the people. It's more important for us, the for example, in our mushroom book, it's yes, there are recipes. There are 15 recipes. They are like the last bit of the book, and the more protagonistic is the landscape, and the woods, and the people that harvest, and the people that have the knowledge with the harvesting mushrooms in Mexico for generations and generations. And I mean, it's the same for the rest of the world. I mean, there are woods in many countries, and most of the countries, but the traditions of harvesting and cooking can like are very specific to, even like Oaxaca and Mexico City are like, they name the mushrooms differently,
Mhm.
even like scientific names can coincide, but for them it's like a different, they cook it differently. It's a different reality. Like they have a different product at the end of the when it comes to the plate. So yes, we have a method, and we have some like principles, but it's like just keeping in mind that what is important to us, more than selecting, or and that's also working very closely to the vision of the authors, like even for aesthetical purposes, and like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. No, that's great, because
Mhm.
authors don't always get much say in like design and kind of aesthetics and things like that. So this book that you were talking about, it's called Estado de Hongos, and that's by Nane Watabe. Is that right? And she's Mexican
it's a
Japanese. Okay,
Mexican, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, and
Nanay.
she's a Mexican Japanese forager. Like, is that her primary occupation? She's a forager.
Yes,
Okay.
she's a forager, and she's I don't know how to say it, like a seller.
Okay.
She sells mushrooms to the restaurants.
Okay.
She connects the foragers with the chefs, and she takes people to the woods to forage, to teach them. She also searches for knowledge with foragers in the communities.
So
So
yeah, so she's basically a hub of information about mushrooms in Mexico, but also in is like a focal point in the distribution and how they're used and in
yes,
restaurants and things. So yeah, so she's a perfect person to write a book about this. Yeah,
exactly. And she wasn't a writer, but she did have all this knowledge,
yeah.
and all these contacts, and I think it's also important to say that this is like the type of authorship we are looking for. This person that knows part of the industry, the people in like all these sides of
Mhm.
the cooking, no, like
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like she's exactly in the middle of all aspects of mushrooms
yes.
in Mexico. And the book is it all? Does it cover all of Mexico, or is it just mostly concentrated in central Mexico?
It's concentrated in three states,
Okay.
because also, and Estado de Mexico, because it's where Nanae has the most, like she's been going for almost 12 years to the woods like surrounding Mexico City. She's based in Mexico City, but
Okay.
she so and then Oaxaca, because she and also us, we have a lot of connections there, and the chefs there are like work super like I think maybe Oaxaca is one of the cuisines that uses the mushrooms like they really you can go to restaurants and
Yeah.
see in the menus that they have it for the entire season. I think a lot of chefs are more cautious about it because of the obvious reasons that it's if you don't know the
Hmm.
mushrooms, it's sometimes people don't risk it. But and also Puebla because it's also like close and it's
Yeah.
between the two states. But definitely no. I mean, it's no. There are like maybe 6 or 7 more states where you can find mushrooms
Hmm.
in many of the central areas in Mexico. Uh, but it was like this is like the vision of Nanae more than like
Yeah. Then
entire
then a
Mexico.
guide to mushrooms or something like that.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
it's it's her. It's about her and how she
it's
understands the world of
yes,
mushrooms in this part of Mexico.
this part of Mexico. Yeah, so yeah, I think we could probably find other very interesting. I think it's probably in the future we'll have to do more on this amazing subject
Hmm.
and covering other states or other areas and other people because there's also many indigenous people that knows like a lot about
Hmm.
this. But yeah, this is Nana's vision mostly.
Cool. And the first book was Cocina de Oaxaca by Alejandro Ruiz, who's the chef of Casa Oaxaca. He's a well-known chef with a kind of long-time popular restaurant. I'm sure like he's been offered book deals before. Is this his first book? Do you know?
It is his first
Okay.
book and his only book so far. And this is also this is a book that was I published this book before with my art
Okay.
um, imprint, and this kind of made me
Yep.
go into the I started my career as an editor for a food magazine,
Okay.
and I then went into art books. And then when I found Alejandro, it kind of mixed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I published it under the Sycomore Ediciones label before,
Okay.
and that's it's kind of one of the starters of Novo because I couldn't run a new edition, and I
Hmm.
wanted to, and I actually sold the we sold the rights for American publishing.
Okay.
The book exists in the USA. They changed the cover, but it's basically the same book.
Okay.
And but it was in the middle of the pandemic, and it was kind of complicated.
Yeah.
So I
Tell me about it.
definitely
Yeah.
but it was successful in many ways. I mean, and I was like a lot of people was asking like, "Where is that book?" And I was like, it's like I ran out of copies.
Yeah.
So we decided to like the first step for Novo was to relaunch this book with our brand because it kind of has all the it ticks all the boxes we relaunched it, and it's going very well. And I think the American version is it's under the Novo label,
Okay.
and it's doing well. I
Good.
guess I think it would be easier if the chef was able to travel, but I think he's super focused in his like restaurants
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but I
So
guess people are coming to him all the time. Like he has so many. He has a lot of places in Oaxaca now, right? Like,
yeah, so like four places in Oaxaca.
okay,
But he's super busy, and he's always saying like, I love having the book, but I love more being in my
yeah,
kitchens. Like, so yes, I guess he's, and also I think we're very proud to, because I think he's an inspiration for so many of the chefs that came, like even for the Mexico City,
hmm
more famous than Alex chefs.
hmm
He's the boss.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. No, like everyone respects him there. And you know Jorge. Well, Jorge used to work there, right? Like that's where Jorge got to
yeah,
start.
Jorge comes from yeah, a lot of the people comes from Alex's kitchens, and Jorge Leon, and also Rodolfo Castellanos
Okay.
and Manolo Pition. Like there's like a lot of chefs that have worked with Alejandro and then have come to Pujol, and then they have founded their own restaurants.
hmm
So it's a massive it's inspiration.
So
And
I was talking to Jorge the other day when you mentioned that you know him, Jorge Leon from the restaurant Alfonsina in Oaxaca. Who's I've written about a lot over the years, and but he has a recipe in the mushroom book. Is that right?
yes, he
Okay.
has a mole recipe
Of
that
course.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a broccoli mole with
Broccoli mole.
mushroom.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all like mushrooms and vegetables.
Okay.
Amazing. An amazing recipe. And also he was, not only he participated with a recipe, but with putting us in contact with the lady that he buys mushrooms from, like the
Yeah,
forager.
okay.
Is like she has a whole chapter in the
Okay.
book. Maestra Anastasia. She took us to the forest in Oaxaca, and she was a guide for us, for Nanae and for me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it was great.
And what other books are on the
You have
horizon?
one
Oh,
coming about pork, right? Like
Yes, La
very soon.
República Democrática del Cerdo, the Democratic Republic of Pork,
from
and
Pedro Reyes, who I know Pedro. I've met Pedro before. He's on Taco Chronicles, the Netflix show, and he's been involved in like everything in Mexican
yeah,
gastronomy over the years. So what
yeah.
is this book?
It's coming in November. We're going to present it in the Feria Internacional del Libro de Guadalajara, which is a very important book. I think it's the most important book fair in Spanish language there is, and it's a very different book from the mushroom book. It's funky. It's like the design is reflects all of this amazing relationship the Mexican that we have with pork, from carnitas, cochinita pibil, tacos al pastor, and all this chicharrón, and
Mm-hmm.
like everything. So um, it also covers like the same, like we talk about the territory, we talk about the people that cooks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a very popular kind of recipes. But we also have 20 recipes in this case, and it's also Pedro's friends that wanted to give, and Pedro's, I don't know, grandmother, and all
Okay.
these different recipes that are like close to Pedro's life and
Okay.
experience.
Cool. And when does that come out?
November.
November. Okay.
November,
November this year.
November this year.
All right. Um,
I have a question about the radio project
oh,
uh, and how those two things connect, because I think you have just one episode so far, right? I
We,
listened to it. It's called Radio Milpa.
yes.
Um, And well, thank you. I mean, first, thank you because it's so refreshing, and I don't know, just it's so well produced, and
Thank you.
it has this balance between getting to getting you into the story in a very focused way, but it's also so, the music on the back is it's a perfect volume, and then you can it's really, yeah, I really got into it immediately. And I was wondering how these two things are going to enrich each other and collaborate, because I am guessing the idea is not to replicate the same, just with the books and the radio, and you have the potential to reach different audiences. So yeah, I'm curious about that combination of amazing things you're doing.
Yes, it was kind of we were, I mean, whenever we're in the process of doing the books, we find so many people and so many things that are
Mm,
interesting, and so many stories to be told, like out there. But then you have to focus on your
yeah,
Hmm.
book or your plan. So
you
we
cannot
thought,
keep
quite
everything.
in generally, or with a lot of naive thinking, that we were going to be able to do, like, oh, we can have this small kind of on the side
Mm,
audio podcast. And I mean, it's not like that, as you probably know way better than me. um, it was we didn't want to lose these other stories and other people and other processes. So we made a list of, like, it's kind of not, it's not about, it's people we have encountered during the processes of the books,
Hmm.
but not exactly like it's other
mhm,
stories that we want to tell. Or maybe that we don't think, like, this is not a book, this is like smaller,
Hmm.
but maybe we can. And that's how we started. And we started without any experience in the like audio producing. Like, it was
Hmm.
a leap of faith that we thought we needed to. I mean, we always conceived Novo as a platform. Like, we didn't say, we didn't want to say Novo Books or
Hmm.
Novo
mhm.
Ediciones or Novo. Like, we wanted it to be like a platform, and we wanted to have this sense of community. So well, we have like four more in line, the four other episodes, and we're working on them. But thank you for the comments. We I really, I appreciate them, because it's been a lot of fun, but it's also like, without any experience in this field, it was, wow, how are we going to pull this? And yes, we have the idea of bringing more audiences and bringing more public to the same, I mean, the same area of interest.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Uh,
mean it's the same with New Worlder. It's like there's never really been a concrete idea. It's just always been just trying to adapt and change and like try and tell all these stories together and let them feed off each other in some way. But yeah, it's always a battle. I think with the way just technology changes and the way people get their information keeps changing and it's so quickly that it's impossible to keep up. But I don't know. I think for me, it's just been like just putting it out there when it feels right and just kind of see what happens, which probably isn't always the best business model, but I don't know. It's what feels the most natural to me.
yes, yes, yes. It's a balance, but we hope this kind of it's it can't be super quick. Like, it can be,
Hmm.
it's not this I think these stories, particularly this is about Gustavo Macuel, a very young chef from the that is an expert corn grower,
Hmm.
and he comes from the Milpa itself. And I think it doesn't really matter if you tell this story today or in a year's time.
Hmm.
It's like it's a good story. I think if it's a good story,
Such
it
a good
will
story.
um,
Yes, and
pass the
well,
test of time.
yeah, the good thing, I mean, about thinking Novo as a platform or New Order is that
Mhm,
you really, I mean, it's not the answer to my first question because it's a constant challenge, but I think it allows to cover different audiences, and radio can be so democratic.
mhm,
Uh, it's mainly or to some extent for free,
mhm,
and there are like some other maybe I don't know interest you'll need to have maybe to enjoy the niche books that you don't need for that. It's such a good story and so compelling in so many ways for different kinds of people. Not to mention, producers or farmers, the way he talks, his story. So I was just wondering. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of your plate, so maybe you haven't solved this, but distribution wise, how to make it more available for because we find it because we know about Novo and because one thing leads to the other. But if someone wants to get directly to that story without having to worry about Novo in other ways.
Yes, we're kind of in the middle of that question. Like, how do we get
Yeah,
out there? How do we
yeah,
get the
yeah.
publics we create this for? So yes, I don't have the a proper answer for
No,
that
it's
one.
just
Damn,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was hoping you
It's just
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
in the top of my head, like we are yeah, I think we want to be like out there, and also we want
yeah,
to. One thing we have always said is like we want to cross the borders because there's
yeah,
like such a big audience and such a big market. uh even like in Spanish, like we think there's an opportunity for us to be like to be heard and to be read and to be like bought our books in the US. There's a lot of Mexican, there's a lot of Latin American people that also are now willing to listen to things in Spanish and read in Spanish and all these things. So yes, I think we're on the definitely we have that in like every discussion these days.
yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
One thing I want to talk about is just the publishing in Spanish is such a weird thing sometimes. Like, I
Mhm,
mean, just from my experience with, writing books in English that were translated into Spanish, even
mhm,
though they were about Latin America, but, that's a whole other story. But
mhm,
usually what gets sold in Spanish at like an international level is in the language of Spain. Like it's in,
mhm,
like for some reason, which the global publishing world considers standard Spanish, the Spanish from Spain. And, I've had fights with publishers about this, relating to, the books I've worked on set in Latin
mhm,
America. And the translations say things like alubias to describe beans or patatas to describe potatoes. And, and to be fair, it can be difficult to apply like a single dialect of Spanish across Latin America because there are so many different variations of words being
Variations. Yeah,
used. But when you standardize a language of so many places, as it relates to food, you lose so much of like the regionality of food. And when you kind of lessen a description of an ingredient for like a more general term, and those terms start to be used in literature, people start to gravitate towards the more general ingredient. They stop seeking out a pasilla mixe chile, and
Mhm.
instead they just start to use a pasilla chile, and those things disappear. And so having independent culinary publishers within Latin America, like I think it's so important, and like just just in terms of language, of like having that language and spreading that language and the things it means.
Yes, language. It's a reflection of reality, and it creates reality. And it's. I think with a mushroom book, Estado de Hongos, Nanae Watabe said to me, like the first time we went together to foraging
Hmm.
to the forest. I asked, like, do you know the scientific name of that? And she said, like, no. And I mean, I can't, probably I know it, but
Use it.
I
Yeah.
don't really care about it because it's not, it doesn't reflect anything on
Hmm.
the, like, this forest and this particular community that lives off this foraging these mushrooms. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean anything. And it's like, I think we need to repeat and say the names the people call it, like the
Yeah.
people that eats this call this mushroom,
Hmm.
because that's the way we are kind of preserving
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
reality.
Like I mean, there's so much attached to just the word, just the name.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a description, like it's with mushrooms. It was very telling because it's, to my eyes, it was like very similar.
Hmm.
Like one mushroom we found in the state of Mexico, and then we went to Oaxaca, and they call it different names, and they call it different names in two separate villages of, like,
Yeah.
separate by maybe 50 kilometers in Oaxaca.
Hmm.
But it's they call it in Mixteco, or they call it in Spanish, but sometimes it's like this mushroom is called. I think it's known in French and maybe in the U.S. I'm not quite sure. Chanterelles.
Hmm.
That these yellow mushrooms, and they would call them flor de calabaza, like
Okay.
squash blossom,
Uh huh.
because it looks like
Yeah.
squash. So
Mm.
it's it create it reflects the reality they live. They have a squash blossom, and they
Hmm.
call it like that. This is the squash blossom mushroom, or whatever. I don't know. Like, they have never seen a lobster. Why would they call it lobster mushroom?
Yeah.
Like,
That's such a great point. It's, I mean, in a way, it's a misrepresentation of reality to make it easy for the reader or the audience. But,
mhm.
the audience, like treating audience as dumb or
Yeah.
basic, it's a problem because, they are, or even just like there is still some work you need to do when you consume this content. Is you need to research, you need to be reflective about it. You need to, oh, is this the same or not, right? If you change the name, like patatas is a perfect example. It's just not, it is not a patata. It's just like
Yeah.
ontologically it's not a
Yeah.
patata.
Yeah.
So is this
And
middle ground? Maybe you can explain some things and make it available. But it's like when we are describing food to someone else that haven't tried from a place, we say it's like this other thing, or it resembles this other thing, but it's not the same thing. And these books and these mainstream publishing houses, I mean, again, for the sake of making it easier, they fall into this very problematic simplification and misrepresentation of reality, because I think it's a great point again to make the analogy. This is a reflection of something that it's alive outside. So
that
yeah.
it's close to your experience here. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and I think we can. I mean, not everyone wants easy. Like,
Yeah, that too.
and
Yeah.
we can. I think there's ways of, like, turning around those things, because, for example, in Alex's book that we didn't intend to publish, it was for the Mexican market, but we did a glossary because there's
Hmm.
a lot of terms that, or a lot of food that is a reality in Oaxaca, but not. I mean, pasilla mija is not even available in Mexico City,
Yeah.
or it's like
Yeah.
you have to like
You have to look
really
for it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look for it, and it's. I mean, I didn't try pasilla mija until I was like, I don't know, maybe 30. It's not
Yeah.
a, and I'm someone that it's like very close to
Hmm.
food. So we did a glossary, but in the recipes, it's like whatever Alejandro Ruiz was cooking with,
Yeah.
we left it
Mm.
and then in the glossary we suggested like if you don't find hierba de conejo, you
Hmm.
can use this or that, like,
Mhm.
but not in order to make it like to lose these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
but
No, like I think substitutions are fine. I think you should use the best of whatever you have around
Yeah.
you, like when you're reading a recipe book, and try to make it work with the best
yeah,
whatever you can get. But when you just totally erase that information, there's so
Yeah.
much more you're losing. Like it, and it's like I think too many publishers fall into that trap. They just try to make things easy, and too many readers expect that too. And like fucking readers, like grow up, man. Like you really have to. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like you're part of the
Not
problem
dumb.
sometimes. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
sorry to
I
the
think,
people who buy books I've
yeah.
written, but it's true.
Most of the times, the audience is
Yeah, I think we need to like I mean, also you have one of these things, like you can always
Yeah,
look for it,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not like we're going to make your life super hard for
yeah.
just having the and also I think it's out of respect of the people that creates that kind of recipe or that lives in this context, like yeah, it's a like yeah, it's trying to it's sometimes, I mean, that's why I think in our manifesto we also say like it's political.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, it's like language is it's political, and
It is
ingredients
political.
and
Yeah.
like farming and harvesting, all these things,
Well, it's part of food sovereignty, right? It is part of it to
and
keep
cultural
those terms.
sovereignty is there as well. Like I think if one thing is like the cultural sovereignty of Mexican food is like an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't, and I don't mean it in like in a purity kind of way.
Hmm.
Just like and I do love all. I mean, also from the start we wanted to like Mexico, like think of Mexican food or of whatever happens in Mexico, within Mexico, about food. It's like it doesn't have any frontiers. Like it's all mixed up,
Yeah.
and we have Nana Ewatabe is half Japanese, and she knows a lot of like in her cooking. She's more, I would say, more Japanese influence than Mexico. But the mushrooms, and but she always says like, yes, but I'm cooking with Mexican mushrooms. I'm cooking with mushrooms
Hmm.
from like 40 kilometers out of the city. So and also the yeah, there's a lot of I don't know, chefs from all over the place working in Mexico,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
Mexico City.
I think there is like a purity dilemma in Mexican food a lot of in modern Mexican food a lot of times, like in a way that I don't see quite as much elsewhere in Latin America. Like I mean, there's like this whole like how do I phrase this? like Diana Kennedy, take her, for one, and like it was very precise. Like this is the recipe, exactly how it's done in this particular place by this woman, and that's wonderful. But that's just one example of one recipe, and I think there's a lot of the times, especially as it's seen from the United States, is that all these recipes are just locked into that state of being all the time.
Hmm.
But I don't think that's true in at all ever. Like in any village you go, anywhere in Mexico, things are always changing. I think.
Yes, and I think yeah, and Diana Kennedy, I think, did a massive flavor of love, but it's more like a ethnography, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess.
No, I mean she's awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love her
Awesome.
work, and
Yeah, no,
it's
no, no.
amazing. But I just think like sometimes people get locked into those
Yeah,
books as like
Yeah.
the
like
artifacts
Bible,
that everything should follow and still be that way or something.
and it's hard to cook that way. Like
Oh yeah,
I mean, I probably have all of Diana Kennedy's books, but it's like I don't think I've cooked from them.
Mm.
I've read them, I've
yeah,
analyzed them, but it's not easy to like actually get to the kitchen with one of these books and try and figure out. It's more like yeah, it's like ethnography. It's like this precise village with this
yeah,
precise woman made the mole like
yeah. It's
this.
they're
It's like
amazing records of a moment in time of how something was
Yeah.
made.
Great information. Yeah.
amazing
Yeah,
information, and I've discovered ingredients I didn't or herbs
yeah.
that I didn't even know that existed,
No,
and
and like she did it in the most beautiful way and actually used the right those ingredients. She mentioned what everything was, and that's wonderful. Like, I mean, it's exactly what we're talking about.
exactly, and
And
but yeah,
information plus information should be challenging but not intimidating. Because
yeah,
what is the point, right? So the context is important. I'm transmitting this
Mhm.
information for you to try to live that experience, but I'm not expecting you to reproduce it because it's going to be stressful and impossible. Right? So
yeah, nearly impossible. Yeah, 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 and sometimes yeah, I guess I would love to see a Diana Kennedy book for the future. Like
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's things like that are missing. Like, I think there's a big gap of what's available and what could be done in publishing, especially in food in Latin America. Like, and yeah, like I'm glad people like you are trying to fill that gap and create something new. And
yes, and I would love to get to talk to other like I don't know Colombians or Peruvians or like that are trying to do the same because we can I mean we find in our countries like the famous chefs have been like have books published with big labels and but sometimes we need like see what's the perspective from here from
yeah,
our countries like with our resources and I'm not saying that in a nationalist way. I mean the Alejandro's book was designed by a fantastic American designer that
mhm.
lives 2 blocks away from me. She's been living here and she's lived in Oaxaca and I mean but they are close. They are here. They have the perspective of an insider kind
hmm,
of, and I think that's also needed to create publics that yeah. I've talked to a few chefs that are don't relate to the books that have been published in the with their name in an international
yeah,
global, and they don't feel that close to their book like
yeah.
it's supposed to be their book. So that's why I really, really mean to work very closely with everyone involved in the, and that's why I'll probably will never be super big because I really enjoy this kind of
The collaborative process. Yeah,
the collaborative process.
it makes it real. Not just something that's been cut away down in a lab in different countries and repackaged and put together. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Exactly.
I mean, it's more reflective of food, I think, and how we want it
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they have so far I could see because I don't have them physically, but they have a balance that it's not easy to get, which is being reflective or representative of a community, but also the voice of an author and a specific person with a specific angle and sense of art. And that's not easy because, especially with artists that are like so egocentric. um so that's, I mean, it. I don't know. It's an example that it's possible. It's possible to have a book as a piece of art with the voice of an author that is showing the work of a producing company with this artistic look, but it's transmitting a message that talks about a community mainly and most, right? For like, it's the most important thing. So
That's the intention. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's totally the intention.
All right. Juliana, did you have any other questions?
no, I just want to see the books. And I
I'm
look
gonna send
forward
you
to
the book.
listening to the next radio
Where
rooms.
you're based in New York, aren't you?
I am. Julie's in LA and Colombia.
Oh,
But
great.
Yeah.
We have we have them in now, like as of last week. We have in one uh, bookshop in New York, one in LA, and one in San Francisco.
Okay, great. Where in New
Ah,
York? At Kitchen Arts and Letters, or okay, all right.
That's
I'll run down there
and here
soon.
in Serving LA.
All
yes,
right,
and
yeah.
not never in San Francisco.
How great are these bookstores that these
Amazing.
culinary bookstores that are
Yeah.
popping up everywhere that are you know
Amazing. I think
giving us access to these things. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
it's awesome. I think. I mean, I find this. I mean, I know it's like only three examples, but I think they are the best examples to like this other people promoting the efforts
Hmm.
we are making here, because it's really an effort, and so we can concentrate in doing more books,
Yeah.
and they can concentrate in doing this amazing job of promoting and having them. And I'm super happy that we I mean, we're just trying to reach,
Hmm.
but they give us the space. And they also they say like there's been an increasing um, interest in books in Spanish, so it gives us hope.
Hmm. Yeah.
They
No, I
give us.
mean it's just another part of this big community, and interplaying with another community. And yeah, it makes sense, and it's good that it's not everything's just dictated by Barnes and
Mhm.
Noble or whatever. So,
Yeah, exactly. Big chains.
all right.
And
Well,
yeah,
once
still.
the heat wave is gone here, which is supposed to be tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll plan for that. It's an excuse to go there for sure. You
Great.
have which ones? The two of them?
The two of them,
Yes.
Alejandro
Okay.
Ruiz and Estado de Hongos. And yes, and we've discussed the possibility of having with now serving an event with Pedro Reyes once the book is out. So,
Mm.
and yes, and yeah, we've I'm working on a book right now with people in LA. So
Yeah, okay. A Mexican
yeah,
cooking
Oaxaca.
a chef or
Yeah,
is it?
Tlayudas Poncho.
Oh, I know him.
He's
I
amazing, isn't
tried
he?
his tlayudas. He's so nice. That's
Yeah,
great.
there's an amazing story there. Like we
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just starting to work, but I think there's like something very interesting.
Ah,
Cross
that's great.
borders and
Yeah.
Oaxaca, love,
All
all these
right.
connections.
All the hassles. Yeah.
Great. All right.
So yeah,
Before we go, I have a weird question, but so I was in Maria. Maybe you can help with this. It's totally unrelated to anything other than so I was chopping habaneros yesterday, and I didn't have gloves, and And so my hands have been burning for like 24 hours in the like I don't know if you noticed, but I've been like grabbing my chair sometimes while I've been sitting here. But and I've tried like I've looked on the internet and like just random things and like I've been told to like soak them in milk, in whole milk, because the fat will help. I've tried baking like the baking soda mixed with water and putting them on my hands. I've tried just like
It
scrubbing
hasn't
my hands
worked.
again and again. I mean, it's lessened a little bit, but it's like it's still like not really going away. Is there a secret to this? And
No.
listen, I know, I realize I should use gloves. I am a food writer, and I do realize I'm not a total idiot, but I did just try to avoid it yesterday, and I'm in this situation now. Do you have any
I don't.
secrets to this? Like,
The baking soda works if it's on, but it needs to be like immediate.
yeah,
But it's
right,
too
yeah.
late for the baking soda. I mean, I've find myself in the same situation at some point, but
Okay,
it's I think the baking soda is just like right away. But
okay,
uh, I think my mom said mustard. I
okay.
kind of recall, yeah, mustard
All right, I'm
for
gonna
the
try that. I mean, I'm
burning sensation. And
Mm.
yeah, I don't even have gloves, but I normally use a Ziploc or something too.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I don't like I just harvested a ton of habaneros from my garden, and it was like, and I was like rushing yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make hot sauce, and I'm gonna chop them up quick, and I didn't have gloves. I didn't even. They maybe have even been gloves. I just didn't want to look for them. But yeah, I was really sloppy about it, and now yeah, I'm
The-
gonna like live. I mean, my fingers aren't going to fall off or anything, but it's like it's kind of annoying that 24
Yeah,
hours later.
I have gloves,
annoying.
and also and otherwise, if it doesn't get better, I think calendula, the like you
Okay,
have to
there's some of
fart.
that in my yard. I
Pretty
think.
like is a burning like a you burned. It's I think it's similar to
Okay,
burning.
interesting.
Mm.
But I mean,
Yeah, I
like
think
you would think there's some plants used to relieve, because I'm sure I'm not, indigenous communities and historically probably didn't wear rubber gloves to cut
or
chilies. Yeah, so they've probably encountered this before, and there's probably some plant that we've forgotten about that totally
Well,
cures
thinking
this.
about it as a burn,
I
why don't you
think
try honey?
Maybe, okay, maybe. And that didn't come up
Honey
when
is
I
super
was.
good for
I tried
burns.
aloe vera, but
uh
maybe that
But
helped a little. But honey, okay,
honey in Mexico, I got such a stupid burn. And honey, I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah, I didn't have to go. I should have gone to ER because it was really bad. But I think honey
honey. Okay,
cured
yeah.
me.
all right,
So try that. Just
okay.
Yeah.
so, Maria, maybe you come soon to LA.
I'm going to LA on the 18th of September. So
Ah, okay.
10
So
days. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's
let's
connect.
talk. Let's see
Let's
each other.
talk.
That's great.
All right.
Amazing.
Okay.
Well, thank you so
Amazing.
much, Maria. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you
space
so
and the
much.
conversation.
No, it's very inspiring.